Hey cuties, really quick, we realize that church hurt can be a very sensitive topic, and we want to let you know that we love you and Jesus loves you even more. So please take no offense to anything that's said, and feel free to drop your comments and opinions and thoughts in the comment section below. Hey Jessica,
Hi, Bree.
how's it going?
Not too bad. I'm a little tired today, but I'm
Really?
here.
Well, you
Yeah,
look great. You don't look tired.
thanks. You look great too.
Thank you. I had to get myself together because I felt like I looked a mess last episode. So I had
No.
to, yeah, girl. I had to get myself together today.
Oh, you look nice.
Thank you. Today
Yeah,
we're
that's
talking
fine.
about church
Church,
hurt.
church hurt. Yeah.
Yeah. And our experiences with it,
hmm
which we both have said we have not experienced church hurt before.
Yeah. At least I feel like I've experienced it in a way of like people just like expecting you to act a certain way or
Yeah.
do this or do that, but like not anything that has been like very up close. I feel like we both said it's more so like on the outside looking in and seeing other people being church hurt or yeah, just people like having experiences in the church that may turn them away.
Yeah, same, same. I actually was recently my group that I'm in with my church. There was a girl in my group who was talking about how she hasn't been to church since 2019 because of the leadership and how she felt like they were discriminating against people's race and their
Mhm.
sexuality and stuff like that. And her whole demeanor at the group was very like on guard. Like, she was very
Mhm.
hostile in
Mhm.
the group. She said she had only been visiting the church for, like, a month, I think. So, she's fairly new, and she's saying
Yeah.
she's trying to figure out the culture of the church and the people there and stuff, which is understandable. But
Yeah.
one thing that I thought was very odd about what she said was, of course, racism, no, not of God.
Mhm.
No one we don't look at people different because of the color of their skin, but about sexuality and how she felt like they discriminated against people because of their sexuality,
Mhm.
which of course don't we're not gonna discriminate against anybody, we shouldn't be,
Right, right, right.
but for her to be offended and upset because they don't agree with it is just kinda like, that is the church's belief.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah. Um It makes me think though because like I do understand like the thought of like being church hurt and how like you can be hurt by certain things, but I also think sometimes we can get confused with um is it like what is it that's hurting you? Is it the truth that's hurting you or is it someone's like actually doing something that like you went to church, someone told you off, or
Yeah.
you went to church and someone was judging you.
Mhm.
Like, seeing it that way and then also just, like, seeing it in a way of, like, it's not necessarily that they were trying to hurt you, but it was
Yeah.
just a matter of, "This is what we believe, and this is what we don't believe."
Yeah, yeah, 100% I agree. That's a good way to look at it because I think a lot of people get offended by the truth, and they want you
Mhm.
to just agree with whatever they wanna do,
Yeah.
and I feel like everybody in the church like, nobody is, like, perfectly living, you know what I'm saying?
Mm-mm.
So, we all have things that, like, you know well, not all, but most people might have things that they struggle with,
Mhm.
but that doesn't mean, like I don't know, just get mad at the church. Like, it's not the
Yeah.
church you're mad at, it's really God you're mad at because that's the outline that God gave us to live by, whatever it is that you may be upset about, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah. It's like I empathize with people that are church hurt though, and that have been church hurt, and it's like I don't wanna, like, look over that in any type of way because that's a real thing. People
Mhm.
hurt you even outside of the church, and I think that's just, like, one thing that we have to remember that, like, the church is people,
Yeah. Yeah.
and we try our best, but even us being friends, I could hurt your feelings not even intentionally,
Mhm.
And I think, like, that was what we have to remember, that the church is full of imperfect people.
Yeah, that is true.
And
I think people, like, look at Christians and people in the church, like, on a pedestal, and it's like, how can you hold the people of the church to this pedestal that you're not even on? Because
mhm,
at the end of the day, we're still human. So,
mhm,
of course, we strive for better and to be better, but they're gonna, disappoint. They're gonna probably hurt you,
mhm.
offend you, and,
Yeah,
that happens.
'cause there's no perfect church.
Yeah.
Even even the churches that you do enjoy going to, or you feel like the pastor's great, give a good word, part of great groups, there's still there's still gonna be someone that's gonna find something wrong with it, unfortunately, uh,
Mhm.
just because, like, the only perfect person's Jesus Christ,
Yeah,
honestly.
literally.
Mhm.
That reminds me of, the church that we went to growing up, when someone had made a comment about me wearing black nail polish, like it was, like, demonic or something, and I was so confused, like, "What? It's a color, it's the color black." Like, I'm not
Yeah.
it doesn't like, it's not meaning anything greater to me, it's literally just nail polish that goes with an outfit, like, you know what I'm
Mhm.
saying?
Mhm.
So sometimes I feel like people can, like, be a bit much and,
Mhm.
like, push people away from the church.
Yeah, that is true, that is true. And when that happened to you, was there any type of explanation, or was it just kinda like, "No, you shouldn't be"?
No, she literally just looked at me and said, "Girl, I know that's not black nail polish." And I was like, "Yeah?" And she was like, "Mm-mm," and then just walked away. And I'm like, "What?" Like,
That
okay, and
isn't.
mind you, I was probably like 12 or 13, something like that. Like, I was young.
Yeah.
So I'm like, "What? That's weird."
Yeah, I feel like people have to, like, and even when you are trying to correct someone, or, like, you're coming to someone out of love, I feel like people really have to think before they speak, and then, like, just be aware of, like, how what you're saying can affect someone, because I mean, granted, you were able to move on, that didn't affect the way that you looked at the church, I don't think, as a
No.
whole. Okay. Okay.
I thought she
Okay,
was crazy.
but you just never know. Like, you
Mhm.
never know what you were going through at that moment, where was your mind space, like, you don't know, and I just feel like people have to be more considerate
Mhm.
of, like, what they say and what they do, and how that affects other people overall, like, in general.
Yeah, for
'Cause
sure.
that's kinda crazy.
Yeah, and I was a child, like, what?
Mhm, mhm.
So weird.
And then, why would you even come at a child like that either, too?
Right.
Mhm.
So how do you feel about the church culture now versus, like, growing up and what we experienced? Because I know for me, it's different, the church we grew up in and then, like, the churches I've attended since college and now.
Yeah, I would agree that it has changed, um, but, like, is there anything, like, specifically culture-wise, or do you just mean kind of
I guess,
like
like,
how.
I guess I would say, like, the people within the church in the way that they, I guess, view Christianity
Mhm,
and church because, like, I know, like, Sunday, my pastor talked about relationship over religion and how
mhm,
it goes hand in hand. It's not
mhm.
necessarily like you can just say, "Oh, I have a relationship with God, like, I'm good," but you're just living any type of way. Like, your
Right.
life has to line up with the relationship. Because if you have a relationship, it's gonna transform you in some way. Like, there's no way that I can have a relationship with a person that is positive and I remain a negative person. Like, it's
Mhm,
gonna change me, it's gonna show in my life, the way I talk, the way I interact with people. So I feel like for me, if I was to answer the question, I think it's gotten a lot more lax now than it was
mhm,
back then. But then again, back then I feel like it was a little too stern. Like you couldn't even make a mistake, and it was like cast you out of the church.
Yeah, I would agree with that, and for me, like, I think the biggest thing, like, looking at it from then is I feel like, yeah, people were strict, and it was like, "You can't do this, you shouldn't do this, you can do that," without lack of, like, explanation.
Yeah.
Or, like, really, like, explaining, "Okay, yeah, I know that you say I shouldn't do this, but why?"
Yeah.
And now now, like, you bring in the, like, whole relationship thing, I feel like now people in general are kind of more like, because I have a relationship with God, he's gonna forgive me,
Yeah.
and and it's okay. And, I think that's the biggest, like, culture-wise change is
Yeah.
there it was just like, "You shouldn't do this, you shouldn't do that." But, like, why? Because like, can you tell me why?
Right.
Like,
Right.
what like, the explanation of, like, really, like, knowing now, like, the heart of God. Like, I
Mhm.
shouldn't do this because God wants better for me, and not, like, I shouldn't do this just because you're telling me that I shouldn't do it.
Yeah, that's so true. Because when you're doing stuff just because you're being told to do it, you don't see the importance in doing
Mhm,
it. And we don't
mhm,
realize like if you just say for instance, like, um, don't have sex before marriage. Like, of course people hear that, people saved and unsaved hear that and are told that.
mhm.
But if you don't see the point behind it or like the reason for it, you're just like, okay. Like,
Yeah,
okay. But really, like, it opens up access to so many other things in your life. You're literally giving the devil a foothold into your life, and you're saying, "Okay, come in, plague me with disease, give me a child out of marriage, have me to have these soul ties with this person that I'm not gonna marry, and now I'm in
mhm.
depression and thinking about killing myself and all this other stuff." You don't even know why it's going on, but it's because of that sin. Like, you've
Yeah,
opened up so many doors to
mhm,
really affect you in a negative way. And so
yeah,
that does bring me to the thought of, um, like, people, often saying, like, "Why does God allow so many bad things to happen?" It's just a thought from that point. But it just brings me back to that point of, like, when you sin, the truth that people don't wanna hear, you're
mhm.
opening up doors and giving access for so many other things to happen. And
Yeah,
I think people don't understand, like, God is genuinely a good God, like, everything about him is good. And
mhm,
9 times out of 10, when bad things happen, it's 1 or 2 things. It's a sin, and you've allowed the devil access to come in and do whatever, or it's either God is pruning you and,
mhm,
like, you got off on the wrong path, and so if you're
mhm.
being pruned, all the bad decisions you made, he has to rectify that. And in order to do
Right,
that, you gotta lose people, you gotta probably, get a new job, it's probably not where he wants you to be because whatever the case may be, he has something better for you or he wants you to like, so many things. So I just
yeah,
feel like that is, like I don't know, I just feel like that was important to say. It's just
yeah. And, like, bouncing off of the whole, like, God being a good God, why is he allowing this or that to happen? I feel like people like, we have to also remember that, yes, God is a good God, but he's also a good God that has given us the ability to make our own choices.
yeah,
And sometimes it's just a matter of God has given this person the ability to make a choice, and this person has made a bad choice that has now, because of their choice, this has allowed bad things to happen, but that doesn't necessarily mean that God himself is bad. And it can get, like, really, like, challenging and even, like, a bad idea when you start to think that, like, God is good solely just based off of, like, the worldly view of
yeah,
what good is. Because, like, that is not necessarily the case, and like you said, at the end of the day, God can use all that stuff because he's to work it out for your good. Whether
right,
it is you've learned something from it, or because of this bad thing has happened, someone now has been drawn to Christ.
mhm,
Like, there's so many things that honestly you can get from out of a bad thing happening, but it's just a matter of you, like, being able to be in a mental space to like accept that just because this doesn't feel good, this doesn't look good, doesn't mean that like God cannot still get the glory out of it.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. When we talk about like God being good and
Mhm.
the people in the church, the Christians being human, and of course we
Right.
strive to be like God and to have his heart, like how would you say like that would relate, I guess, to people's mindset of being so easily offended? I feel like people are easily offended at church. And I guess it's
Mhm.
because like, we know God is good, and so if you're Christian, like I said, you're held to a higher standard, so
Yeah.
people are expecting you to be good as well.
So of course, within church there are leaders, right? And a lot of times I feel like, or a lot of times I think that people being church hurt a lot of times can come from within people that are in ministry or hold certain titles
Mhm.
um, within that. And I feel like churches have to be at a point where they have people in leadership that are willing to call people out when they're wrong.
Yeah.
Um, because there are like there's sometimes people that are church hurt because maybe someone like has offended them or hurt their feelings, and it wasn't really like anything that was like that big of a deal. But there's sometimes where like people are church hurt because there are leaders that have literally done something terribly wrong, devastating, traumatic to someone in the congregation, and then it's just like been looked over,
Yeah.
never addressed. Um, so I feel like there needs to be like people in position to, we always say, it's nice to go to church because you have a community of people and people that can hold you to a standard and call you out when you're wrong. And I feel like that doesn't just apply to people in the congregation. Like, I feel like also leaders should also be called out when they're wrong in that
Yeah,
sense.
definitely.
Um,
Even
so
though
I
the Holy Spirit in them should be convicting them, but that's another topic.
Right, but, sometimes people are convicted and they don't act like
Yeah.
they act like they didn't hear it. Like, "Okay, Lord, I got it next time," but they
Yeah.
still never address it with the actual person, like, there's
Mhm.
never any, like, and that's a big thing too, when you have offended someone or you have hurt someone and you've gotten convicted by it, and then like conviction is one thing, but then
Mhm.
it's a whole nother thing to be convicted by it, and then you taking another step where going to that person and apologizing or saying I
Yeah.
was wrong in this or that. Like that takes
That's
a
so true.
whole nother level of maturity
Yeah, it does.
after just conviction itself.
Yeah, that is true. And literally in the Bible it talks about the way that we treat people and how God cares about that. Like it's
Mhm.
important the way you treat people. Like the church that I go to now, I love my church and I think, my pastors are great people, but like I was telling you, like I've never had a conversation with my pastor. Like I've seen his wife here and there throughout the church and like, we say hi, how are you? And that's
Mhm.
about the extent of the conversation, but like I don't know, he'll see me and keep walking or, he's, like, at the door greeting people and overlook me, and I'm like, "Okay, I'm not gonna, go out of
Yeah.
my way." But if I wasn't where I am spiritually and in my relationship with God, I could have been offended by that, and I could
Yeah.
have been like, "Okay, I'm not going to church because I could have thought like, "Oh, he's judging me," or "He doesn't like me," or whatever the case may be, and nothing against him at
Mhm.
all, but I just feel like we just have to be more aware of the way that we treat people, especially
That
when
is
you're in
true.
a place of leadership, because the devil is looking for any room to offend people, any room to give them a reason. And I look at pastors, you're a shepherd over the sheep. So I feel like you should be a people person. You should kind of hold yourself a certain way. So I do
Mhm.
expect a certain type of behavior, but at the end of the day, I know that you're human. And I know
Yeah.
that I'm going to church because of God, not because of you. But I
Mhm.
do see the God in you. And I recognize that. And so it's not going to stop me from going to church. You're just
Yeah.
human. And maybe
Yeah.
you just in his head, he probably has a million things going on and just haven't even paid attention, you know?
Mhm.
but I
Yeah.
could have took it a whole different way, but
Yeah.
thank God I didn't, because I would have been at home.
Do you think though, like, do you think that pastors in a sense, 'cause you said how he just kinda, like, saw you, never really speak or whatever. Do you think pastors that have bigger churches are more like that versus, smaller community churches?
Yeah, absolutely. 'Cause
Mhm.
when you have a bigger church, I feel like I don't know, you don't know what's going on in their head, so they could get to a point where it's overwhelming or
Yeah.
they have other things on their mind, and some people just kinda feel like, "Well, I got a big church, so, hey, it doesn't matter if I speak to everybody." You know what I'm saying? And then I feel like
Yeah.
it's a little more personable with smaller churches, you're trying to build your community, establish it, and the people within it, and so,
Mhm.
every person is like, "Let me make sure I build some type of rapport with them, keep them coming, see what they can do to help out in the church," like that, so
Yeah.
yeah, I definitely feel like it's a difference, but at the same time, sometimes I feel like it's a difference because it has to do with people's ego.
Mhm.
Because if your ego gets too big, because 'cause you're like, "Oh, I have this mega church and I have all these members," and, you kinda just feel like, "Oh, I don't have to speak to everybody. I don't have to do this or that." Like, my
Yeah.
mom was telling me the other night about, um, a pastor of a church that they visited, and he was going off on the audio people because his mic cut out. His mic cut out, and he just got so upset and, kinda just talking mean and
I
rude
mean, it was an
while he was
accident,
in.
right?
Yeah, it was an accident, like, I don't know, like, maybe it was somebody new in the booth or something, I don't know, but, like, his mic had went out and, they had to fix it, but, like, you have to remain humble. You
Mhm.
have to remain kind, you know what I'm saying? And sometimes I feel
Yeah.
like people we're human, so of course you probably do get to a point where your ego kinda gets the best of you, and you
Yeah.
need to be reminded that you are being used by God and can be
Yeah.
replaced.
Yeah. That actually okay, so one of the questions that I had wrote down,
Mhm.
kinda, like, goes off of that, so I'll just go ahead and share it. But it was, do you think mega churches have influenced what people think the local church should look like? Like, your smaller,
Mhm.
average church in your neighborhood?
Definitely. Definitely.
Mm.
I feel like sometimes people start churches and start it off as if they are a mega church already. Like, you have 10 members and you have 2 services. Like, what are you
Like,
doing?
what are we doing?
Yeah, like, in my opinion, that's like, are you even being led by God
Mhm.
if you have a smaller church and you're basing it off of what this other church is doing.
Mhm.
Like, I know that you have to have your own relationship with God, so you're hearing from Him directly of what you should do
Yeah.
in your church and your ministry, and it might not look like the next.
Mhm.
But, yeah, I definitely feel like they kinda some go off of
Me
mega churches.
too. Me too. I even think, like, now, just because of, like, social media and stuff, I feel like there's probably so many, like, really, like, good Bible-based churches out there, that probably get overlooked just because they don't look like they don't
Yeah.
look like your next, you know, with the algorithm, all
Mhm.
these all the pastors that you get to see online, but, um, it's like that. I don't know, I just feel like I'm at a point right now, at least, where I just, like, really enjoy, like, a smaller community and just being able to, like, say hi to the pastor.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel that for sure.
Yeah.
My question if I could pull it up. My question was, what would you change about the church culture today? Or
Mhm.
people I guess the people within the church today.
That's a good one. I would say as far as, like, changing, um, mm, okay. It makes me think of, like, this kinda, like, goes in line with even the question that I had asked, but I think now today, church has gotten, what's the word, theatrical?
Mhm.
And I do understand the matter of, like, wanting to appeal to the people, and you wanna draw people in, but I think sometimes, like, some churches have gotten to the point where we're missing, like, the main point of why we're here, you know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Mhm.
Um, and it's almost like there's more energy put into trying to, like, keep people's attention in a sense where it's no, like, people literally need to know the word.
Yeah.
When I leave church on Sunday, I don't just want to, like, feel happy that I was entertained, I feel like, of course, you do work throughout the week, right? But
Mhm.
when you are under a leadership and when you are, like, serving in a church and you're going to a church faithfully on a Sunday, I feel like they should be preparing you and, like, setting you up in a sense where Monday comes and something's devastating, I know how to fight with my word, or
Yeah.
I know how to study the Bible because I've been taught by my pastor.
Yeah. That's so
And
true.
it's I just feel like church today almost feel like it honestly should be like in a sense, church should almost be like school. Like,
Mhm.
like I don't know if that's a good explanation or
No,
not,
yeah,
but
it is.
if your pastor's not teaching you, like and you if I am a new Christian and I'm getting connected with a church because I'm ready to like grow in the Lord. If
Mhm.
my pastor is not teaching me how to study the word, if I don't know how to pray, where else do I go? If my
Right.
pastor is like my shepherd. But on a Sunday I'm really just being entertained. But
Right.
I'm not really learning how to live my life out.
That's so true. That is so true.
I feel like that is like one thing that I would today's culture. And
Mhm.
not every church is like that.
Mhm.
But we know with social media and stuff and just like now just being able to have like such access to so many sermons, whether it's YouTube, short clips on TikTok, Instagram, you name it, like it's a lot of entertaining out there. But who's like really teaching
That is so
me to
true.
like live as a legit Christian, not just me just out here saying like I love Jesus, but like what does that look like? And can you teach me
Mhm. Yeah,
that?
because so many people are going to church. Like, I feel like if you're going to church Sunday after Sunday and nothing in your life is changing and you're not feeling a need to change anything and you
Yeah.
know things need to be changed, maybe that's not the church for you. Maybe
Yeah.
you need to get somewhere with actual meat that you
Yeah,
can chew on.
I heard someone say, "If you're going to church and you're never convicted."
Hello. 'Cause what?
Uh,
Right?
maybe you need to find another church home.
Yeah, exactly, and that's I think that's part of the church hurt as well. Some people, you're just not in the right church. There's multiple churches for a reason. God has
Yeah,
called so many different people that came from so many different walks of life to,
mhm.
I guess, like, be there for certain people in different walks of life. You know what I'm saying?
Yes,
Like,
yes.
my pastor may not suit you,
Mhm,
but another pastor may. You know what I'm
mhm.
saying? So I feel
Yeah,
like it's okay to, like, go to different churches and visit and truly, like, take your time when picking the church that you're gonna become a
yes,
member of. Because the way I look at it is the shepherd, my pastor that's over me, I wanna feel confident that I know, like, this is the church for me, that I can trust that they're praying for me and covering me when I'm not able to cover myself, that I
mm,
can trust that my life is gonna be changed just by going to their church. If I'm at a
yes,
church where nothing is changing and I don't feel like I'm benefiting, I'm learning anything, you're just going just to go. Like,
yeah,
you're literally spiritually dead, and what is the
mhm,
purpose of that? You're just
yes,
checking off a box and saying, "Oh, I went to church today," but your
yes,
life is trash and toe up, and that's why. Not because God ain't good, but because
mhm,
you're not doing the work, because you're not learning
yeah.
anything, and you need to be able to bear fruit, and if your fruit is you being a negative person, you're always broke, you're always falling out with friends, you need to get in your word because God, I know what you build a relationship with him, that's not gonna be your life.
Mhm.
So I feel
At
like if
least not forever.
exactly, not forever. Like you should
Yeah.
be growing and developing, and I feel like spiritually reflects naturally. So when you're growing and you're developing and maturing spiritually, it'll begin to fall into place because you gain wisdom, you gain insight, revelation, and doors begin to open.
Yeah.
So I feel
Yeah.
like I feel like for me, that's what stems from the church hurt, aside from truth, people not wanting to hear truth. And then, some people, are pretty mean and not, kind.
Yeah.
But aside from that, I feel like it could be the church you're going to is just not for you. But that doesn't
Yeah.
mean all churches altogether is bad. Maybe you need to really get into your word and seek God for yourself first. So
Mhm.
you'll know the pastor by the fruit. Because if you don't know the word, you're just going off of whatever he says. And if you're going off whatever
Yeah.
he says, how is that helping you? It's not
Yeah.
sticking to your heart. You
Yeah.
still gotta do the work outside of church regardless.
Yeah, that is so true. That is so true. You have to find the right church. And uh, and then also I just think of it as like you of course you are hurt, right? But I also think a lot of times we can be so stuck on ourselves and what happened to me or this happened to me or this person did that to me. But it's also like you are the church too.
Mhm.
And you like allowing church hurt to take you from out of church, then you can't be what you were looking for someone
Exactly.
else.
Yes, exactly.
Because now because you've separated yourself from the body
Right.
because you were hurt and that this person didn't show up the way that you wanted them to show up for. Okay, now take that hurt, find you a place where you feel like you belong, you feel like you can grow. And not to say that this community there's not going to be someone that may hurt you or your feelings,
Mhm.
but find somewhere where um there are good people
Right.
and you can now be what you were looking for someone else.
That is so
Because
true.
yeah, we are the church.
Mhm.
Yes, there's a building, we go to fellowship together, but you're still a part of the church.
Mhm.
So be what you're looking for someone else.
Exactly. That is so true. And I feel like to answer the question that I asked about the culture, I feel like if people can just be kind,
Mhm.
like I feel like that is the change that we need, just kindness.
Kindness.
God's love and his kindness is what drew us. So
Mhm.
how else do we expect to draw other people? I
Yeah.
feel like often like people look at people in the church and it's either like one extreme or the other. Like you have too much grace or you don't have enough grace. And so
Mhm.
it's like you're judging people right off the bat, or either you're just like, oh, it's fine, whatever. God forgives you. God forgives you. Like I feel like there has to be a balance in that. But amongst that, kindness and love, like that's
Mhm.
literally what we need in the church
We
because
do.
I feel like you can literally, it could be an atheist and their heart can be touched just by your kindness and your love. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? And I
Yeah.
feel like that's what's missing and that's what we need.
Mhm. Yeah, it all comes down to your relationship with God. Um, and even like as your relationship grows with God and as you're getting into your word, I feel like it'll be hard to be faithfully like growing with the Lord and then wanting to stay away from his people.
Yeah.
And then I also think that the more that you grow in your relationship with the Lord, the more grace you will have for others.
Mhm.
And it's not that when someone hurts your feelings that you're no longer hurt or it doesn't sting or anything, but you also know that this person is not perfect.
Yeah.
Um, you're not perfect yourself, but you know that you can run to the Father with that.
Yeah.
And he's not going to want you to separate yourself. from his people. Um,
Mhm.
and then I heard someone once say that God can use the same community that hurt you to, like, heal you. So,
Mhm.
like, for example, yeah, this church, you were hurt over there at this church, but then you could go to another church and you could feel so fulfilled. And
Mhm.
this church could heal whatever it was in you that was dying from
Yeah.
the church hurt. So yeah, focusing on your that's the biggest thing, focusing on your relationship with the Lord itself and taking time to like find a church that really you click with and you're learning and you're growing and just having that community. Um, but yeah, the more that your relationship grows with the Lord, I just feel like it'll be hard to want to stay away from his people because like even like after like COVID and stuff and just getting so used to watching sermons online and not having to get up and go to church, it was very convenient.
Mhm.
Like I'm not gonna lie, I
Yeah.
enjoyed it. I enjoyed just I enjoyed just being able to like still lay in bed and turn the TV on and watch church, be done with that, and then go downstairs to eat.
Mhm.
But but then it also came to a point in time where it's like I miss community.
Yeah.
Like I missed being in a church and worship and there's a song that was like what were the words? Can you imagine with all of the faith in the room what the Lord can do? And I just feel like
Yeah.
there is something
Mhm.
powerful with like being in a community of believers and y'all just like worshiping the Lord, praying together, like because y'all are all like bringing whatever it is that you need, having people to be able to intercede with you, go
Mhm.
to war with you in prayer, like
Yeah, and you
that.
need that covering. You need your
Yeah,
pastor, because
yes,
he's a
like
pastor, he was called by God to lead
yes,
his people, so you need that covering of
yeah,
your pastor and his prayers.
mhm. And I just feel like not that I'm, like, trying to overlook church hurt because that is a real thing, and people are real, and they have real feelings and real traumas and all of that. I'm just saying that lo finding you a good church home with people that you can learn and grow with, that they
Mhm,
may hurt your feelings, but at the end of the day, they love you,
mhm.
unmatched. Like
Absolutely, absolutely, and I think about, like, my church, since I became a member, every single Sunday, my pastor is teaching on something that I've been talking to God about or something that I've been studying, and I feel like that isn't people say, "Oh, you can just go to church online," like, you don't need a church, you are the church,
yeah,
but you need that covering, you need
yeah,
that shepherd, your pastor to cover you in prayer, to go to bat for you spiritually. You need your pastor to hear from God when you're not able to, or you just
mhm,
aren't listening to God
mhm,
really, to be able to give you that word Sunday after Sunday of whatever it is that you need, because if your pastor is truly seeking God's face, he knows what his people needs.
mhm,
I feel like that is so important, and like you said, relationship is important as well, because if you have that relationship with God, and like my mom told me one time before that I will never forget. Like when I tell you the verse when it talks about turn the other cheek, I never
ooh,
understood it so well. She literally told me, "You don't have to say nothing, let God talk for you." So if
mm,
somebody in the church hurts you, do you not think that God is not gonna place it on their heart? I don't care if they're saved or not. Place it on their heart, put it on their mind, put it in a dream, and make them feel convicted to the point to where they have to apologize or they have to make it right. And if they don't, you better
yeah,
believe God's gonna deal with them.
yeah,
Like literally having that relationship, it doesn't matter what anybody does to me. I know I'm leaving it in God's hands and it's gonna be
yes,
taken care of. You
yes,
can't block your own blessing or be your own stumbling block when you have God on your side who will literally fight these battles for you and
mhm,
literally defend you. You don't have to
yeah,
defend yourself. So,
yeah,
like, think about people getting hurt at church or the girl that I used as an example at the beginning, like, maybe that wasn't the church for her, but at the end of the day, you can't just up and leave because you're offended. You gotta
mhm,
literally be hearing from God because you could have
yeah,
moved into something much worse.
yes, 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 and, like, churches, pastors, like, that's biblical. Okay?
Okay.
Leadership is biblical, and the Lord has placed certain people in these positions for a reason. I say certain people because
Yeah,
I think some
certain.
people wanna be pastors, and I
Yeah.
don't know if they would call it that. That's why I say certain people. But, like but the Lord has placed them, like, there for a reason, you
Yeah.
know? So it's like, the church needs each other.
Yeah.
We need to be in church. We need to be in community, and we need to have shepherds because
Mhm.
that's nothing but the Lord, like, unless you can go
Exactly.
to the Bible and tell me that it's not, but
Right, it's there. Literally.
well, thank you all so much for watching today's episode. We hope that you were able to gain something from it. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to our channel, and we hope to see you in the next one.
Bye. Where are you going, sweetie? Don't forget to hit that subscribe button as well as head on over to our lovely TikTok at CuteConvos and don't forget to follow. See you next time.